Hey guys, welcome back to Clueless Gamers. I am Pete, and today we'll be reviewing Arrow, Season 5, Episode 4, Penance. So this was a really enjoyable episode, like the action in it, kind of like the jumping back and forth between stories. If you're wondering, again, repeating this for people who've listened to the other videos, why this is a review, I've been sick, so I've been doing reviews for this entire week. Don't worry, next week, I will be back to reactions, kind of sick or not. But without further ado, let's get into this. So the main points I'd say with this episode, I'd say there are 5. I would say it's Prison Break, Team Without Oliver, Ragman, Tobias Church, and Wild Dog Captured. So starting with the first main point, we have a prison break in this episode here. No pun intended for our CW characters here in this universe that are involved in Prison Break in Wentworth Miller and Dominic Purcello. But we have Oliver breaking John out of prison. We saw last week that Lila asked him, Oliver to break John out of prison since he didn't want to go. He feels like it is his penance after killing Andy, that this is what he deserves to do. I liked last week's episode, but I didn't like a little bit how we were retreading some old storylines with the kind of Mirakuru-like soldiers, even though it was cool to see Cody Rhodes last week. And then kind of, we also had this, paying your penance, kind of like Roy did, and he thought he deserved to be in prison. In this episode, we even mention Roy, and I understand John's point of wanting to be there, but he didn't do anything. I mean, he was framed for that whole bomb fiasco thing that happened overseas, and this is not the way to pay penance. And I do like the conversation Oliver and John have later in the episode, where Oliver basically says, do your penance as Spartan. This is not the way. But I like also at the start back of the episode where Lila comes into the bunker. They have this whole plan going on. Felicity, of course, just, akin to her character, is not on board with the situation, especially since John doesn't want to go through with it at all. I do like always in scenes like this where Lila and Oliver are just, they're like two peas in a pod. Like, not relationship-wise, but they're so alike in their personalities, in the way they are, that they just get that shit needs to be done and they have to do it. And I like how they have this conversation of like, oh, is Felicity going to be a problem? No, but I was hoping she'd kind of be a solution, that she would help with the issue here. I do like the whole action sequence of once they get it going. I do agree with going to break out John, despite his wishes, because I think he'll understand later that there is other ways to pay for penance. Plus, I understand it's killing your brother. That is a messed up thing. It's hopefully something, you hope that no one ever has to make a decision to kill anyone, even in their vigilante line of business. But his brother was a piece of shit. Whether he was brainwashed by Hive, which we know he wasn't because he wasn't taking the pill. So, maybe it was just, he just got used to the doctrine, Dark was speaking, or he wanted his life to go that way. He was a bad person. He was threatening John's, kid at the time, Sarah, now John Jr., and Lila. He had to go, but I understand John being remorseful for what happened. But, with the action sequence in the prison, very cool. Oliver, I knew he was kind of going to be in the laundry cart there. Stops the guards, which we assume are trank arrows. I don't think he's killing the guards. Goes throughout, the episode, and eventually gets to John, who, of course, is not in his cell. Lila's on the comms, and it says that John is back into general population. Oliver, being, the man that he is, and being, faithful, being stubborn, yes, but being faithful to John as his brother, still doesn't want to abort the mission. They eventually, he basically gets alerted, like he takes out a guard so another guard can find it, so they have this cold yellow thing go on, so all prisoners go back to their cells, and that's where he gets John with this, he has this very convenient Pobertech thing, which is like some antimatter thing that could eat through pretty much any material, and he's able to get John out, and then they do this at the end, very Dark Knight kind of hook up to a big, C-130 or AC-130 and get carried off by harness, which I thought was very cool. Yes, the special effects aren't the greatest, but it is a TV show. This isn't The Dark Knight. So I really did enjoy that. That was, I don't think, an homage to that, but it was very cool that you see a similar tactic. And then we store John in Hive, which I thought at first was, I thought, wait, is that the club back from season 1, 2, and 3? But no, it was old Hive, which is presumably underground. No one's looking for that. I think that's a great place to stash him. Like I did mention earlier, I love the conversation that John and Oliver had in the cell about John paying penance in other ways, and I do look forward to him maybe not rejoining the team as Spartan yet, as we see by the end of the episode, when he's in the Hive bunker, but trying to figure out other ways that he can atone for what he's done, and hopefully rewriting his name, because right now he's a fugitive on the run. He is like Roy, which Felicity mentioned earlier in the episode, and I want John to come back into the fold, both in the private life as a vigilante, but I do want him to come back into the public life. I don't want him to be hidden forever. But I did love that storyline that was going on. Very cool. The only negative I would have of that was we had great moments in this episode, but the kind of editing or the pacing of the episode was off. I would have liked to stay with the prison scene, for more beats, just to keep with the adrenaline rush. But I do understand it's a TV episode. They're trying to juggle a lot of things, so I can forgive that. But it would have been better the other way. The second point of the episode that I got into is the team without Oliver. Basically, Felicity is the leader at this point. She's not doing a very good job, not only because of her whole Haven Rock guilt, but because she's not really that type of leader like Oliver is. Clearly, Renee doesn't respect her at all in the sense of leading, and keeps derogatory talking down to her, and just keep calling her Blondie, Blondie, Blondie. I would have liked Felicity to take more of the reins, and be more of a leader in Oliver's absence, and she kind of had hints of that throughout the episode, but she, because she made the call at the end to leave Ramirez, but she needs to try to take a stronger stance, and I think that will come as, her character develops, if there is any other points of Oliver not being on the team. She's his second in command, so I think she has to understand that going forward. I understood Ragman being off the team, and I'll touch on that in the Ragman point, but that definitely left a huge hole in the team, because he's basically like he's a major weapon. In some ways, he's not as of a tactician as Oliver is, or has the experience of Oliver, but the guy could take bullets, explosions that we see in this episode. Like, the guy can do a lot of things. He's basically the tank of the group, so not having him early on was definitely a detriment to the team. Renee should be he should be stepping up as the second in command in Oliver's absence and leading the team out there. We learned in this episode that he used to be in the Navy. You wouldn't know it, even though he was dishonorably discharged. We don't know how long he was in the Navy for. Maybe it was a short time. He's not really great as a tactician, or he's got some fighting skills, but we saw a few episodes ago he tripped off the roof. He's not the best shot in the world. He has some experience, but not a lot. So I'm assuming he wasn't in the Navy that long of a time, or he was learning different things, but that was definitely interesting to learn his backstory, that he does have some experience. It helped fills in the gap of why he's more experienced than Evelyn or Curtis, but not enough that you would think that he was in the Navy. So I wonder if we're going to see more of that backstory going forward, but he did not step up. He's still, at the beginning of this episode, we see that he still doesn't listen to Oliver even when he's there. He's still effing up, despite all of this trust issues that we keep going over and over and over, and that we keep ending in the same places. So that was one little nitpick of the episode that I didn't like, that we just keep ending in the same spot of why won't this stubborn bastard listen? But he is a fun part of the team. I do like kind of the foil he provides to Oliver. He is kind of really the only major pushback, Felicity included in some ways, in different circumstances, to Oliver and kind of his supreme reign. So I did like, I do like him on the team. He does have some skills in the sense that he punched Church here at the end of the episode. Got a few tags on him that Church even, congratulates him on, but we'll touch on later in the points that he was captured. I did like Evelyn didn't have much to do in this episode. We saw that, or we heard that Oliver used her Artemis code name. Now, that kind of felt a little out of left field. I probably wouldn't have recognized it, honestly, as especially such a big thing if I didn't watch Young Justice Season 1 and love Artemis on there. But I feel like we didn't explain that she's Artemis. We kind of just jumped into it. Like, everyone kind of got a code name, either, by, Rory. He had it in the sense of, because of what the rags are called, it's a hereditary thing passed down, or, Curtis with his favorite wrestler, or, Wild Dog, Curtis and Felicity came up with that. I feel like they should have had a scene where Evelyn's codename, they kind of touched on that, but they really didn't. So I would have liked to see that. Maybe we'll explain that more going forward. But, they kind of just dropped it in this episode. She didn't really have a lot to do. She took care of Curtis. She made, little moves here and there, but it was really Wild Dog's show out in the field, Ragman show. And even Curtis had some moments of trying to fight early on in the first fight. Against the guy that we saw from last episode, that was running the Stardust, that we know is working for Church. He had also moments later where he ended up getting injured, which I'll touch on that a little bit later. But the team is dynamic, pretty much work as you would expect. They got even beaten the shit out of by Oliver on the road, trying to either join up with him or stop him. It was kind of unclear. I think they would have took it either way with his whole prison plan. But yeah, that didn't fare too well for them. And then, we saw Lance kind of come back, him and Thea come back into the team very briefly, not doing anything. Lance picked up the team at the end to be rescued from Church. But Thea really just served, and Lance to a greater extent, just as information that they were just there, kind of checking in on the team. And I do appreciate that, because we still need to learn more about this team. If we're ever going to get Thea and Spartan back, we need to learn more about this new team. So they didn't bore me without Oliver. I definitely think they went through their bumps. Renee frustrates me, certainly, as he frustrates Oliver, that he just never listens. We keep going through this trust thing, and he never listens. So I hope that improves on, in further episodes, because I think the episodes definitely sorely need it, I would say. The third point in the episode is Ragman. We get more of his backstory a little bit, and how it's kind of a hereditary thing passed down, the Ragman outfit. From generation to generation. We know his father had it. We know his grandfather had it, all named Rory. We do touch on the whole Haven Rock storyline here with Felicity. I didn't think it was, drolled out or a problem in this episode, or, oh my god, Felicity's crying again. I think it was definitely something we needed to be touched on. It was a major thing that was kind of not addressed last season after the bomb dropped in episode 21. And I like the conversations that him and Felicity had, especially the resolving point at the end that he said, hey, make sure I don't get swallowed by guilt, and I'll make sure you don't get swallowed by guilt, kind of deal that they kind of made here. And I did like that. Maybe a friendship developing amongst those two, especially, because they have this horrible event that they're both connected to. And I did like the development of that going forward. The only thing that it was negative about that storyline was the editing, and that's nothing, with the writing or the directing or the acting. It's just, it felt awkwardly placed, that scene where, Rory was, welding metal, when we're right in the middle of Oliver, and I touched on this earlier, of going through that whole prison scene. So, I would have liked that a little bit better. I also did touch on earlier that Ragman is the tank of this group. He takes explosions, he takes bullets, he has, these rags that can reach out to anyone. He maybe has other abilities that we don't know about. Obviously, he's pretty much, at this point, we haven't seen him get affected by anything. So it's really cool that they kind of have a tank presence on their team, especially in Oliver's absence. And he's such an interesting character, Rory, and his Ragman persona. Even though that name isn't great, I know it's like that in the comic books, he interests me every time he's on screen, whether it is his Haven Rock backstory, because that is a horrible thing that he went through, even though Felicity made the right decision, or his Ragman vigilante persona. He's so intriguing on screen. I can't wait to look, to learn more about him going forward and see more action scenes with him. But let me know down below if you think he is your favorite addition to this new team of vigilantes, because he's certainly my favorite addition so far. The fourth point that I was touching on is Tobias Church. He was absent last week. The last time we kind of seen him, he was getting beaten the shit out of by Prometheus and kind of, told to, like, hey, you don't mess with the Green Arrow. He didn't really listen, and I like that because he should be one of our main villains of this season. I guess it is Prometheus and Tobias Church that, he went after. He looked for weapon caches. He went after our new DA. He went after our deputy mayor in Lance. He's blowing up, police headquarters after he got the weapons and evidence lockups. He captured Wild Dog at the end of the episode, probably to not only get at the Green Arrow, but to maybe get great, information about who the Green Arrow is. So Church is, an intimidating presence on screen that I definitely enjoy. I love Chad Coleman, and maybe that's just because I really liked him in The Walking Dead. But I think he's having fun with the character. I think he loves it. And I think it benefits the show completely outright. And, he has fun with these brass knuckles and, playing, a little comedic vibe in it. But he could turn on the terrifying when he wants to. And I believe that he maybe can't stand up to someone like Prometheus in the sense of one-on-one, but he's a physical presence. He's an intimidating presence. And I think Chad Coleman portrays that excellent going forward. I do think his plans right now are pretty much just take over the city in any means necessary, gathering weapons, gathering men, gathering intel. I do like that he is a seemingly, from what we've seen, a intelligent villain. He doesn't kind of, what Oliver hinted at in the first episode, I just think you're dumb. He seems to do his homework about who works with the Green Arrow, where, police things, where they hold different things like rocket launchers, who are the city's leadership. He seems very tactician-like. We saw a couple episodes ago when he was trying to make a deal for weapons, with that lady of the weapons company that made some of Damien Dark's missiles from last year. We see that he knows what he's doing. He knows how to use his buddy right. He knows how to use his skills right, and I appreciate when he's on screen as well, and I want to learn more about him. The fifth point, like I said, I touched on early in the episode, was Wild Dog was captured. This is kind of a big deal that sets the stage for next episode where Oliver and the team are going to have to get Wild Dog back and rescue him and probably have a confrontation with Church. Even though Renee is stubborn not even at times, all the time. He's, just never lays up on that. He is stubborn in the sense that I don't think he's going to give up Oliver or the team. I think he's willing to take torture, as we've seen at the end of the episode, and I think he'll hold up in time for the team to get there. But that was kind of our basically set up to, last episode, just like, to the next episode, just like we had last episode when Lila told John, hey, about, Oliver, about John to break him out of prison. And the same line, same vein that we're going with, is this is what we're going to do. I like that Oliver, obviously, he never abandons his teammate, his teammates as we've seen him going after John in this episode. But kind of for the new people, for Evelyn, for Curtis, it shows them that, hey, I'm never going to abandon you, in that field. It's a dangerous business. He keeps repeating that you can die out there, and I don't think the new team fully understands that, especially, I would say, Evelyn and Renee. But I do like that he is totally loyal to his team, as he should be, as a team leader, as having trust. If you want the new team to have trust in you, Oliver needs to go after him. And I can't wait to see that episode definitely next week. Other little points on the episode. There was a very interesting scene, I would say. There was definitely interesting scenes with the new DA. This is probably the most we got of the new DA since he's been introduced. I think last episode, I believe. But there was a scene when Curtis got hit in that hallway. That knife they got hit with, that's not something that Church's men that we've seen thus far, or Church himself, is a weapon he would use. That looks very similar to a weapon that Prometheus used when he first took down that cop at the end of the first episode. It looks very similar, and let me know if you agree down below, because it looks almost exactly the same, that knife. The only person that was in that area, if Prometheus, we didn't see him in this episode, or we haven't seen him in the last 2 episodes, if he was in that area of that, cop area of that fighting scene with Church, the only likely candidate is the DA. And there was very, kind of hints that he doesn't seem like a good person, that he seems that... it just almost screams that he's Prometheus. However, last season, me and many other people did say that Alex, Thea's boyfriend, was going to be a bad person that was working for Dark, and he ended up not, just being a regular guy that got brainwashed and then weirdly killed. So it could be the same vein, what they're doing here with the new DA. I do hope that. I don't want him really to be Prometheus. Again, I think that's too cookie cutter, kind of like on The Flash. I don't want Julian to be Alchemy. But I am interested to see the storyline of the DA going forward, kind of filling in for Laurel's legacy, but also how he works with Oliver's team. Will he find out Oliver's the Green Arrow? Is there something more to him? I don't know. Let me know what your guys' thoughts on him down below. Do you think he's Prometheus? Do you think he has some kind of other sinister motive to him? Let me know your thoughts on that down below. The other little points, I guess, would be the flashbacks. I really enjoyed the flashbacks. I'm continuing to enjoy the flashbacks this year so far with the whole Bratva thing. I thought Oliver was very menacing. He was intimidating, but he was also charming in that cell with that guy that worked next to Kovar, in getting that information, in threatening his family. And now he's officially in the Bratva. So I thought those were great scenes. They were funny in some parts, of saying like, oh, he has allergies. In other parts, I felt fearful for that guy of what Oliver could do. And even though we know Oliver is not at the fighting or tactician-wise that he will be a year from that point as the Green Arrow, and even as he is now, because he's even better than I would say, than he was in Season 1, he's definitely come a long way since he first washed up on that island, and I think you see those skills on full display. His mentality, his mind, how it's changed on full display in this, and now he's officially a member of the Bratva. I don't think he trusts fully the Bratva or Anatoly, despite that's one of the main things that he's supposed to do, but he killed him at the end of this episode. It was kind of comical that the guards, understandable that the prisoners might not say anything, especially if they overheard that he's Bratva, but that the guards are just like, oh yeah, we'll take him out of here. Like, maybe you should check and see that this guy is dead. He's not just knocked out. He didn't just fall. So that was kind of a little ridiculous thing that you forgive, but I did very much enjoy the storylines of the flashbacks going forward. I continue to enjoy them, and obviously we're gonna get more. This is our last season of flashbacks, and if they keep going with this stuff, if they give us an intimidating actor who's playing Kovar and a great conclusion to that storyline, kind of to fulfill Tiana's promise, I definitely will be more than satisfied. Can't wait to see that. But overall, guys, that's my thoughts here on kind of Arrow Season 5, Episode 4, Penance. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit. I know I sound very sick, and I apologize. I know it's very annoying to listen to someone that is sick, but please forgive me for that. I do hope you enjoyed the review otherwise. Let me know what your thoughts of the episode down below. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were there any Easter eggs I missed? Any other points that you think I should have touched on? Any other favorite moments you have of the episode, or things that you think are going to be important going forward? What did you think of the flashbacks, the Rory and Felicity conversations, the new team without Oliver, kind of Renee getting captured there at the end and his stubbornness throughout the episode, Oliver's whole sequence of rescuing John from the prison, John then being stored in Hive? How do you think that's kind of going to be resolved? Do you think there's going to be a way to bring him back and kind of clear his name? How soon do you think that is going to be? And what do you think of this new DA, kind of his dynamic with Thea and Lance? And do you think he's going to be Prometheus or someone else sinister? Give me all your thoughts, predictions on the episodes going forward down below. As always, if there were spoilers released or anything that is known, I don't want to know. But if you have any theories or things that you speculate are going to happen going forward, please comment with me below. I would love to hear your thoughts. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with your friend if you be so kind. And until next video, guys, thanks for listening this time. Appreciate it.